Welcome to the 17th video in this series where we're making a top-down 2D racer using Godot. In this video, what I'd like to do is make the main user interface so we can navigate back and forth between the game and a track selection interface. The good news for you and me is we're going to keep this relatively straightforward because we're going for a sort of a retro look, and that means easy UIs. To make a start with this, I've actually closed everything down inside Godot. So I've closed all scripts down by right-clicking in this, what was a list here, and close all, and also at the top here, right-clicking and closing all tabs to clean everything up. So to start off with, I'm going to click the user interface here to make a user interface node and call this main. Do Control S to save. Then inside scenes, I'm going to go inside the UI folder actually and make a new folder inside there and save our main.tscn. So the first thing we'll do here is add a little bit of music to this actually. So I'm going to add an audio stream player and change the name here to music. Then on the right hand side, select autoplay. Now the volume here can be around -12 dB, and then open up a stream, and that's going to be the 8-bit nostalgia. Then I'd like to select the root nodes, and we're going to make a coloured background here to fill the screen, and that's going to be a colour rect node. When that's added at the top, I'm going to click anchor to full rect, and then on the right hand side, drag the slider down. And in my case, I'm going to use something very sort of off black, slightly blue here, so very slightly blue. 1D, 25, it's really randomly selected, so I'm going to make it a little bit darker actually, something like that. Do Control S to save. So now we need to build our track selection. We'll actually have a separate scene for that, and then we'll instantiate those in here. Before that, it's probably a good idea to show you how the layout's going to work. So what we're going to have is if I select the root node, a margin container to give ourselves some margin around the edges. With that added, we can go full rect with this one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to lay a grid out. Now I did say easy and retro. That's a little bit of an excuse. We're going to basically allow 4 slots for 4 tracks inside here. The original Super Sprint, I think, had more than 4 tracks. And the way that worked was simply to press a key to go to the next screen. But the UI itself was always 4 tracks, which is what we're going to do. So handily, there is a node for that called a grid container. I'm going to shorten the name of this, otherwise it's going to become too wide to MC. I'll add a new node, and if you look for GRID and then C, you should find grid container. So I'll double click that and make that a child of the margin container. Then selecting the margin container actually, on the right hand side, theme overrides, I'm going to set 12 pixels of margin all around. And then getting hold of the grid container on the right hand side here, make it have 2 columns. So to demonstrate to you how this is going to work temporarily, what I'd like to do is with the grid container selected is instantiate a panel container. So I'll double click on that. It's teeny tiny on the top left hand side. It has no content or anything. We want it actually to fill a quarter of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to expand it horizontally and vertically, which gets it to fill its column because we've set the grid container to 2 columns, but fill the full screen. But you'll see now if we duplicate this 3 times, we get 4 nice panel containers, and you'll see shortly that we're going to make our track selector actually be a scene, which is a panel container, and we'll add our nodes inside there. But I wanted to show you how the layout is going to work first of all. So happy with the panel containers and what we're going to do to get them to expand. We can select all of those, hit the delete key and remove them. What we can do instead is make a new scene, and that's going to be a panel container. Then I'll call this track selector. So the layout for this one, we can go to full rect here. And then we want to expand horizontally and vertically. Then we can save that. And then inside the scenes, we can go into UI and make a new folder called track selector and save that here. So if we go back to main, what we can very quickly check, the grid container is, is we can instantiate then our new track selector. And we should be able to duplicate this 4 times and see these inside here. Okay, so next then, going back to the track selector, on the right-hand side, I'm going to go to theme overrides, styles, make unique here for the panel. And in the panel style here, go to the border, and we've got color here, that's okay, the default color, and the width here, I'd like to set to 2 pixels. And then we should find the content margins here. We want to reset all of those to -1 because we're going to be overlaying a color rect on here, and it'll overlay the border unless we set the contents to -1 here. What I'd like to do though is go back to main and check these first. Okay, that looks all right. The grid container, the horizontal and vertical separation, let's give that a little bit of that as well. Give that 12 pixels as well. That separates those out a little bit more nicely, I think. Okay, so if we actually run the main scene now, it doesn't do anything yet, but we should see these nice boxes with some music playing. All right then, so I'll close that down and then close down the output. Next up, we're going to, inside the track selector, add a color rect. So I'll add a color rect. That will give us some color here on the right-hand side. The color I had was 132136. It's just basically a dark blue color. I'm going to change the name of this to highlight. Control S to save. I'm going to go back to main and check how this looks. Okay, that's all right. What we're going to do is change this color when we hover over these to a bit of a brighter color so that we know what we've actually selected. The reason, by the way, I'm going backwards and forwards each time we make a change here is because this can be a little bit buggy and sometimes it loses its layout settings. So I like to check each time we add something that nothing has gone wrong. Next up, we're going to add the track texture into here and then the labels as well. To do that, we'll do it with a little bit of padding around the outside. So I'll select the root node and we're going to add a margin container into here, and I'll shorten the name to MC. And then in the theme overrides constants, give this around 12 pixels of margin as well. Actually, I might give that a little bit more to keep the picture a bit smaller. So 24 of pixels there. Now I'm going to go back to main here because this was the one that sometimes gave a little bit of trouble, but that actually looks okay, good. All right then, so back to the track selector then. What we can add as a child of the margin container then is a texture rect. And this texture rect is going to show our track. So in the expand mode here, we'll do ignore size and the stretch mode scale, and that should fit it inside our margin container for us. So I'm going to try this with the Silverstone PNG. Control S to save. I'd like to go back to main and check this. Okay, that's all looking okay as well. So go back to the track selector. And now we can add in a couple of labels. So I'll select the margin container. Let's add a label here, and this is going to be the track label. And I'll put some nonsensical text in there and align this center and center. And then we can load up our label settings, and then I'm going to make those unique and then open them out. Go to font size 32, I think is okay in this particular case. Then down in the outline here, I'll up the outline a little bit to maybe 12, and the shadow can be up to a little bit as well, just so we can see the text okay. That looks all right. Then what we can do is we can duplicate this label, and I'll call this best lap label. And if we go to the sizing at the top here, we can vertically align that to the bottom and give that also some placeholder text as well. And the font there is a little bit too big actually. So let's go back to the track label actually, and let's save this. Be well behaved and saved it. So I'll go up into the resources folder, and we can save that as UI32, I think. And then going to best lap here, I'll click at the top and make this unique and open this up, font, and maybe change this to 22 or something. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. And here also save as, and save this then as UI label 22. I'm not sure we're going to reuse it by now. We're nearly at the end in terms of UI, nevertheless. It's probably a good idea to save them. So do Control S to save, go back to main. Okay, that's looking all right. I'd like to double check this actually just by running main now as well and seeing that we're all looking okay. Good, excellent. Now we're not highlighting or anything like that. We'll do that in a moment, but we do at least have the layout on the screen. Okay, so let's do that highlighting then. So let's go to track selector, select the root node, and then we can click this plus here to add a new script, and that looks good. And that creates our script for us. So the first thing we'll do is we'll add ourselves a new type at the top, which can be class name track selector, and we'll do the highlighting first. So we'll drag in a reference to our highlight, which is our color rect. Now what I'd like to do is actually set up a couple of constants here. We could export these as well and customize them. It's really up to you. I'm going to just make a couple of constants in here. So we're going to have one for dark and one for light. So we'll do const, and I'll call this dark. That's going to be of type color. That's going to be equal to the color that we've actually just set. Now I can't remember what the hex of that color is. So with the highlight selected here on the left-hand side, I'll hover over that. Okay, where is it? 132136. Okay, so the hash 132136. And then as soon as we're ready to go, we can actually set that color. So we'll do highlight dots and color is equal to dark. And then we want a light one as well. So I'll copy and paste that, change the name to light. And then for the light color, I'll scroll this up a little bit like this. That will do, and drop that in here. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to set the dark color when the mouse leaves and the light color when the mouse enters this particular scene. If we select the root node, go to node on the right hand side under control, you'll find there's a mouse entered and a mouse exited. We can use those signals to change this particular color. So I'll double click mouse entered and click connect, and double click mouse exited and click connect. So when the mouse is entered, we want to set it to the light color, and when the mouse exited, we want to set to the dark color. So I'll change that highlight to light, and that should be all we need to do. The process we don't need, we can delete that and take that out. So I'll go to main and run the main scene, and let's see, do we get the highlighting? Yes, we do. Cool. So as we move the mouse around, we get the highlighting. So I'll press F8 to close that down, close down the output. Now what we need is to detect that the mouse has been clicked on us. And there's an event for that, or a signal for that, called GUI input. So I'll select the track selector. Make sure you have the track selector here selected, not one of the scenes in the main here. So the actual track selector scene here selected. And then on the right hand side, I'm going to double click on GUI input, click connect. And now in here, what we want to do is check whether we've clicked the mouse, and let's make actually an input for that. So I'll go to project settings, and then input map, add new action. I'll call this select, hit enter, that adds that into here, click the plus on the right hand side, and then click the mouse in the listening for input and click OK and click close. And then we can check in here whether this event on the GUI input is actually our select, which is the left mouse button. So we can say there that if event.isAction pressed, and in this case, it's our select, which is right at the top there. That's rather handy. Then for now, what I'm just going to do is just print selected. because we can't navigate or anything like that. We're coming to that, but we can check that this is running. Before we run this, actually, let's set for now the main scene actually to be the main scene that runs. So I'm going to go into UI, into main here, right click and set as main scene. And then we can press F5 to run. And we should now see selected when we click the mouse on either of these. And if we click in the middle, we don't see anything. Okay, cool. So F8 to close that down. I'll close down the output. So what we want to do is obviously, I think anyway, to be able to customize these, we need the name to be set to a track, then later on the best time loaded, and we also need the image to be the correct track as well. A number of ways of doing this. What I thought we would do here is actually create a custom resource so that we can easily make these in the UI and drag and drop them as an inspector property for the track selector, much like we do when we drag a texture for a sprite or maybe some label settings or something like that. We'll create our own resource. So to do that then, under classes, I'm going to right click, create new. Now we're not creating a resource, we will do with this, but first we have to make the resource, the actual class. So we'll create a new script. This is going to inherit from resource. We can click the little browser here or just type resource in here. If you do just type it, make sure you get the spelling correct, resource. If it's not correct, you probably have red down the bottom here. And then in the path here, I'll call this track info and click create. Then inside the classes, we should find our track info, which is extending resource. Let's give this a class name. So we'll class name it track info. And we're going to export a couple of things from here. So we're going to export the track name. Then we're going to export the track scene. And this is going to be our type packed scene. We're going to use this to actually load the correct track later on. And then we'll also export a preview image, which is the image that we're going to show. And that's going to be a texture 2D. So that's our resource created, and when we save that, we should find that track info is a type now available for us actually to create a resource. So let's test that out. We'll put that in the resources folder. So I'm going to right click on resources, create new and resource, and we should find, if we type track, we should find our track info in here. Here it is. So I'll double click on that. It's asking us for a file name. I'll do Silverstone to start with and click save. And that resource has now been created as a file here, a tres. If we double click on that, that's what we have open here in the inspector, silverstone.tres. So we can give the track name, which funnily enough is Silverstone, then the track scene. So we'll quick load and I'll type SIL. There's the Silverstone track, and then the preview image, and that's also Silverstone. Now we could effectively take that from the track scene in some kind of way or something like that, but I thought when you're setting things up, you might want to customize the images maybe in some way. I'm going to use the actual track images. So that's that resource created. Now we need to make the resources for the other tracks. So I'm going to right click, create new resource, another track info. In this case, it's going to be Monaco. So I'll double click on Monaco, and on the right hand side, Monaco, and then the track scene here is going to be the Monaco scene. And then the preview image will be the Monaco track. Where are you? There you go. So I'm going to fade out now and create the other two resources in the same way for the other two tracks. Okay, so I'm back and I've made the Indy, the Monaco, the Monza, and the Silverstone. So all of these. What we're going to do is set these via an exported property on our track selector scene. So right click on the track info and actually close that down. Then go to the root node here for the track selector. Make sure I've got the track selector.gd open here. And then right at the top here, we can add ourselves a track info export. And I'll put that below the constants, but above the onReady, and save. So you can see now that we've got this track info. So going to the main then, because I'm going to forget this. With our track selectors selected, I'll go to 2D, it's a little bit easier. I'll select the first one, click the quick load and load up Indy. The second one, quick load, load up Monza. Third one, quick load, load up Monaco. And fourth one, quick load and load up Silverstone and Control S to save. Now we don't see them in here at the moment because one, we're not setting the values, and two, they'll be set when we run the game. You could, if you wanted, run a tool here actually and get them to set actually in the interface. I'm not going to bother with that though. I think it's a little bit of overkill. So let's go back to track selector and make sure that we do set the correct properties when things actually start. So we have our texture rect and our track label that we want to adjust for now. Laps are coming later on. So I'll control drag both of these into here. Then we can get hold of our texture rect, and we want the texture of our texture rect to be equal to our track info.preview image. I'll go to distraction free mode here as well. It's a little bit easier, I think, for you to see. Then we have our track label dots and text. And that's going to be equal then to our track info dot, and I think it was track name. Yep. So come out to distraction free mode. That should be all we need actually to, when we run the main scene, actually see the tracks ready. So I'm going to run the game and hopefully, yep, we see all of the tracks, which is pretty good. What I did notice there was the color was actually set to light by default. It seemed to be anyway. If I manage to, oh, I think I've removed the, whoops, I need to set the highlight there. I removed that accidentally inside the ready, didn't I? So I'll do highlight.color is equal to dark. Let's try that again. I'll press F5 and run that again. Is that, oh, that's better. Okay, good. All right then, so we've got the selections working here, and we've also got the individual tracks with their names. Best lap times will be coming later on. So I'll press F8 to close that down, close down the output. To finish off this video, let's get the navigation working as well. That's fairly straightforward. So we'll go to project settings, globals, and we're going to add another global in here. So I'm going to, in the node name, type game manager and then click add. And then in the browser here, go into the globals, game manager.gd is okay, and click open and click create. And that's now been added in automatically, which is nice. So I'll hit close. And we should find that, hopefully, in the globals, we have a game manager. We do. All right, so we can delete all of that. We don't need it. So we're going to be using the game manager here to navigate. And the reason we're doing it via a global, you'll see a little bit later on. We're going to need to, for the best laps, store the name basically of the track that we're actually racing. And the way we'll do it is by storing it on the game manager. For now though, we'll just do the navigation. So we need to navigate from our main scene, and I've lost it. So where's the main scene? Here it is. So we can control drag that into here. Now, interestingly there, it's preloaded that as a UID, and I didn't change anything in the editor settings, which is amazing. So I'm going to go back to UID here and go to behavior. So it's dropping the resources as UID, which I had turned off. There you go. So do I turn it off or leave it on? I'm going to turn it off because I don't like it. So I'm going to remove that, and control drag that back into here. That's better. Okay, so control S to save. And then we'll write our navigation. So we're going to write a function called change to main. And here we get hold of our tree dot change scene to packed, and we can change to our main scene. And then I'll copy this one here and I'll call this change to track. And here we're going to take in some track info. So I'll do info and track info, which is our resource class. And on there, we've actually got the scene. So we can take the info dot and track scene. And I'm sure you can gather now what we're going to do. We're going to do game manager dot change to track when we select a certain track. So let's go to our track selector.gd. And we've got the on GUI input here. So if we have pressed something, we can go to our game manager dot, and we will change the track, and we can send in our track info. And that should have us navigating to the track. Before we test this, let's get ourselves also navigating back. So I'm going to type a UI into the file system here, and we should have a game UI. We do. So I'll open up the game UI scene. Hello, game UI. You look very blank. And let's go into gameui.gd. So inside here, we have race over, and we're pausing the game tree here. I need to remember to unpause the game tree as well. We'll come to that in a moment. Or have we already done that on the main? I can't remember. No, we haven't. So we'll do that. I need to remember that one. So back into the game UI. So we've got the game tree paused here. And we're not doing any input detection at all here, are we? So I'm going to use the escape key for this, which I think is UI cancel. If we go to project settings, input map, built-in actions, there's one called UI cancel, which for me is escape. Obviously, you can add an action in if you like. I'm going to use, in this case, the UI cancel. So I'll do func, and we want the unhandled input here. So again, we can do if event is action pressed and UI cancel. And we're going to do this at any time, actually. So we're simply going to navigate. So we'll do game manager dot, and then we can change to main. And we'll allow this to happen even if the game is also running as well. Then last but not least, we have the tree paused here. So even if we do go back to the game manager and load up the main scene, it'll actually be completely paused because the tree is paused. We need to unpause the tree. There are a few different places we could do that, but we'll do it in the main, I think. So I'm going to add actually a script for this, can you believe? And what we'll do is inside the ready is we'll just unpause the tree. So where were we in game UI? We've already got a line for that here. So I'll copy that, and inside the main, we can unpause it here. We could do it in the manager as well. It's really a matter of taste. I'm going to do it here. I prefer to always do it in the scenes that are actually loading. Now, we've gone quite quickly through all of that. It's relatively straightforward, I think, though. I'm wondering what I've forgotten. And the answer is I don't think very much, because I've cheated and run it already. So let's have a look and see it actually working. So we've got our music and everything playing. I can select Indie and Escape, select Monza and Escape, Silverstone and Escape, and Monaco and Escape as well, which is pretty cool. So I press F8 to close that down, close down the output. And it turns out, despite my overconfidence, I did forget something. I'm just putting a little note in here for further on in the series when I realised in a few videos' time. So the issue on the game UI is when we go to cancel, if a race is finished, then the tree is paused, as you've just done. But if the tree is paused, then we won't be detecting any input. So if you've already discovered this by trying to play a full race and then hitting escape and seeing it doesn't work, don't worry, there's an easy way to fix this. What you need to do is select the game UI scene. And on the right hand side in the inspector in the node section where the process mode is set to inherit, we're going to need to set this to always. And that means it's always processing input and things like that, even if the game tree is paused. Now, I'll discover this in a few videos' time in the series anyway, so don't worry, we'll be setting it later on as well. But just in case you've noticed that, I thought I'd point it out here. So slowly but surely, we are getting there with the game. We've now got our main menu, we've got our track selectors, we can navigate in and out of different tracks as well. We've got two major pieces left to cover. One of those is saving the best laps, and then also the other thing, of course, is the AI improvement as well. Now, as you saw in the AI introduction video, there's going to be quite a bit to the AI, so it might be a good idea to save that till last. And what we can do in the next video is set up the persistence of the best laps. So I'll see you there for that one.